afternoon, and thanks for coming by this afternoon for a budget hearing. I'll start by giving my little spiel I've been giving today. As you've probably heard from the Finance Department, this is going to be a status quo budget year, and I've looked at your proposed budget. It seems to be basically in line with that. We're having a status quo budget this year, despite the fact that we've had $100 and $120 million in new revenue over the last couple of years that have allowed for some significant improvements across the board at most departments. This year, we're not expecting as much growth, in part because of, I guess, slightly fewer construction projects getting started. Additionally, the reappraisal process this go-around has resulted in I think a 40-something% increase in the number of appeals, which is likely to result in some reduced property tax revenue for this coming budget cycle. Additionally, we have a record low property tax rate, $3.15.5 for the Urban Services District, and in order to maintain that low property tax rate and keep people with money in their pockets, we're going to have to be cautious this year in terms of how much we spend for each department. If you could introduce yourself and whomever is with you, give us a brief overview of your department, its budget, maybe some things you've accomplished in the last couple of years, and then I think we'll have some questions at the end. I am joined by the Finance Director, Ms. Talia Lomax O'Neill, and the city's Chief Strategy Officer, Brian Kelsey, today to ask questions.
Well, great. Thank you, Mayor. I'm joined by Susan Dry, who's our Assistant Director of Administrative Services. We also have Keith Simmons behind us, who's President of the Library Board, and Katie Varney, who's a member of the board, is with us today, as well as a number of library administrative staff throughout the room. So we do appreciate the opportunity to visit with you about our budget this afternoon. And a general overview of the library, we operate 21 locations, and we have approximately 380 staff members on board. This year, we expect to exceed last year's materials checkout, which was about 5.4 million items, and we see approximately 3.4 million people through our doors each year, and I would expect to see something similar to that this year. And many of the people that come to our buildings are attending the 14,000 unique programs that we hold in our buildings throughout the library system in the 21 locations. The Nashville Public Library was named Library Journal's Library of the Year this last year, and this award recognizes the public library in the United States for its overall excellence. And we believe that we assist meeting many challenges in Nashville's community. And programs such as Limitless Libraries, Bringing Books to Life, Studio NPL, our mentor space, the Nashville After Zone Alliance, our digital inclusion programs, the Summer Reading Challenge, our adult literacy services, core children's services, and our citywide partnership in the grade level reading initiative, Blueprint for Early Childhood Success, are critical to Nashville. As a result of Limitless Libraries alone, 82,000 Nashville school students have library cards. Those of us that are in the trenches with literacy in Nashville, where 2 out of 3 third graders are not reading on grade level, see that each day this problem is every bit as critical as transit, housing, and health care. In addition, in 2016, the Chamber was commissioned to perform a return on investment study for the library. This independent study found that the Nashville Public Library and Library Foundation delivers a direct economic impact to the Metro Nashville of just over $94 million at that time. And that's a 3-to-1 return on Nashville's investment. Our overall budget sits at about $30 million. We do appreciate all the great support that we've had from the council and the mayor's office over the last few years. And some of the things that we've seen happening include Friday openings in FY 2017, NASA, Nashville After Zone Alliance improvements over the last 2 years to allow more slots for students, shifting library positions funded by the Nashville Public Library Foundation to Metro payroll, and capital funds for branch renovations. All of those things have been critical and important to the growth of the library system. Having said that, we do face some serious budget challenges now and in the future. First of all, in your budget briefing, I believe you have an item on the Nashville After Zone Alliance buses and the contractual agreement on those buses with the MNPS. And that fee is increasing $252,000 this year, and we actually did go in and negotiate that, and the schools were very helpful in dropping that number from something over $350,000. But if we absorb that number into the NASA budget this year, we will see a loss of approximately 300 students in NASA, because that number will need to be absorbed into the NASA budget. Over the next 2 years, we are also looking at a reduction in our foundation funding. The Nashville Public Library Foundation provides support for bringing books to life, digital inclusion, civil rights and civil society programs that are associated with the Civil Rights Room, and AV conservation programs, to name only a few. And what we've been attempting to do over the last couple of years is shift staff positions that are funded through the foundation over to Metro. We currently have about 29 positions that are actually library staff positions the NPLF funds. We are also looking at getting our remaining branches open, and we'd like on Fridays. Over the last number of years, we've been able to get those hours back on Fridays that have not been open. And the 8 branches that we still need to get open on Fridays include the East Branch, Edge Hill, Hadley Park, Luby, North, Old Hickory, Pruitt, and Watkins Park. So we have quite a list there. We're also looking at internal positions regarding what I call maintenance and housekeeping. During the recession, when cuts were made in the library budget, there was a choice made to let some of those positions go or remain vacant, and we've never returned to the pre-recession numbers to maintain our buildings such as the main library. We're also looking at our books and materials budget. Whenever we benchmark against other libraries our size, we're concerned about the size of that budget. I think eventually we'd also like to see those numbers, the $3 million that we're probably going to receive this year, end up in the operating budget. And, one of the things we talk about is if we're going to be a literate community, if we're going to really address the literacy issue, then books are a currency of making that happen. And then finally, the Master Facilities Plan, which was completed in 2016 in conjunction with Nashville Next. We've completed a plan that will allow our buildings to be renovated, replaced, and added onto as needed. And our goal is to have every Nashvilleian within 3 miles or 15 minutes of one of those buildings. Over the last 3 years, we've had some great renovations at Bordeaux and Edmondson Pike, and done some great work at the main library. And Madison is currently closed and undergoing a renovation right now. With future projects in the immediate future, Donaldson, Hadley Park, which both have partial funding. We're also looking at Richland Park and finishing up some projects at the main library, as well as being involved in the Casey project. In addition, we continue to look at our routine maintenance, which adds up exponentially as we fail to address those items. Having said all this, I do want to reassure you we are committed to providing great library service and services to Nashville. I believe that we are very deliberate and thoughtful internally as we look at all of our open staff positions. As each position comes open, we look at repurposing and shifting that position to where it can make the most impact and is most needed. And we're committed to building a staff that reflects the diversity of our community. We are also creative and resourceful as we deal with our daily challenges. And bottom line, the Nashville Public Library must be able to keep pace with the growth of Nashville. Our city continues to expect and believe that a city with a great library is a great city. So thank you.
I appreciate it very much. Talia?
Well, I think we just ought to probably zero in on NASA.
Sure.
NASA program. What is the total funding today for that program?
It's about $3.1 million.
And so to continue levels at the current service, you would need the 250,000
Correct.
just to maintain where you are today.
Exactly.
Okay, and what areas of town is that serving? Are there gaps in service throughout the community? I know you've talked about expanding.
Excuse me, it started off as a zone approach, and it's pretty much spread throughout the entire community.
So there aren't gaps in certain areas of the community
I'm
anymore?
sure there's some gaps. I couldn't pinpoint them exactly, but the goal of the program is eventually is to move away from the district approach and go to the citywide approach.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that as the program was developed, they identified districts where there was the greatest need. And so as that has grown and those districts have been addressed, we would like to spread it out. But as far as from the administrative point of view, it may not make much sense to just consider it as a district approach.
Okay.
And
the reason I'm just asking
sure.
that is just because of some of the feedback in the past around the opportunity now. Participants just travel, being able to get to where
Right.
they need to go.
Okay.
And so my question, I just want to make sure that the age groups are able to take the bus, they can conveniently get to the locations throughout the community, et cetera.
I believe that we are the largest partner in Opportunity now in Metro, and I know that there's a huge focus on that particular program, and I'm sure whatever transportation needs that we need to address, we will do so.
Okay.
And we'll take note of that. Actually, 2 of the coordinators of that program are in the room, so.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
I wanted to give you an opportunity to elaborate a little bit on Friday openings.
Right.
How do you all go about evaluating the need to be open on Fridays and where you prioritize that service?
Okay. When we began reopening the branches on Friday, what we were trying to do is address the libraries with the most services to offer, the largest collections, which would be of most benefit to the community. And because of the way we look at our services regionally in Metro, the regional libraries were first, and then the following group of libraries that were opened were the next size down. And following that, we were looking at the smaller community libraries. And so we're looking at libraries that have the most resources. And that is why we've ended up with this last group of libraries to look at. The collections and the ones we initially opened were the largest. The staff was able to overlap a little bit, and the scheduling was the easiest to address. Now we're at a point where we're really looking at smaller libraries that are going to require additional staff to get those open.
I want to shift to Limitless Libraries.
Okay.
Just because that has been such a success story. And I know at the beginning, as you started to transition, Metro Schools still had kind of their toe in providing some library services. So my question is, has that completely transitioned in terms of library services now to libraries, or is there some component that's still in Metro Schools?
Well, we have great success in collaborating with the Metro schools. We hold it out actually nationally as a model partnership. And the way Limitless Libraries works is that we provide the daily courier service and moving the items. It goes to the schools from our facilities, and then they're delivered to the school libraries. Those school libraries are run and maintained by school staff.
So they actually have librarians still on staff?
Well, and they have librarians or library assistants in most locations. The piece that's really different this year is that we've implemented a new online computer system or online catalog. It actually does much more than that. But so now when the students go online, they can see everything together rather than previously there'd been a Limitless Libraries access point and a library collection access point. So this year has been very much a transitional piece as we're going to that model. Another piece that's going on is that the library staff at the public library do a lot of the ordering and help most of the ordering and processing, and we have an incredible cost savings because the schools are able to tag on to our bulk buying.
Okay. Thank you.
As we keep moving into, I think, what's going to be more and more demand for electronic access to materials, can you elaborate a little bit on the digital divide programs you guys are involved in, and how you're partnering with ITS and others to address those kinds of needs?
Sure. We have Our basic program, and we always say libraries have always addressed the digital divide because there's a real misconception in our country that everybody has a computer or everybody has a handheld capable of accessing the internet, and that's not the case at all. So our baseline service is when you come into one of our buildings and you see folks sitting at those computers. Many of those people do not have computers. So we provide in-house ability for people to get on and use the equipment. Then we have the wireless access in our buildings that we work with Metro IT on. And then the digital inclusion services, we actually have staff that are going out to different parts of the community. One of the large focuses is actually on our senior community. And they go out and provide classes and show folks how to use the different programs and get to basic services. Metro IT and MNPS were part of the early discussion with the Community Fund as we develop programs to go out into the community and have that instruction for the community in general and also for school students.
I don't know what happened with this, but there was also actually a discussion of having the cards that people could check out at the library so that they could have internet access.
We've not done that. The hotspots?
Yes.
Yeah, we have not done that yet. We've had it on the list both with our foundation for a pilot and also looked at it as part of Metro funding, but we've not yet done that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
I do know we were joined by Council Lady Tanika Vercher, who is the chair of our council's Budget and Finance Committee. She's been here for all our hearings today, and she's taking copious notes back there. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm gonna assume it's good. Is that right? It's good. Wink, wink. Wink, wink. So obviously the library is one of the city's great jewels, and I'm committed to making sure we continue to enhance the experience at the libraries. I have to say that as I was hearing about the bus service, I was reminded of the fact that we have a transit initiative on the ballot May 1st, and there's probably no better way to get more people into our libraries than to expand our mass transit system. So I hope everybody is appreciative of that. Additionally, I know the foundation is here, and without that additional community support, we certainly wouldn't have been honored as we were in the last year of being such a great library. In fact, the #1 library in the country this last year. So I want to thank the foundation for all of their hard work, which is all volunteer and all a net add to the library system. So thank you very much. It is going to be a status quo budget year, essentially. I know everybody understands that, but please know that we're committed over time to providing the services that our community needs. It seems to me, as I sit here, though, that we ought to lead with some data-driven decisions at the library. It seems like the perfect place for us to really sort of expand how we think about the library and really get some good data as we grow and expand. So I know y'all been working together, so just let's keep that up.
We're very committed to that data piece, and we're all about outcomes and outputs and really understanding where we can make the greatest impact. So,
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.